All right, hey everybody, it is March 23rd, 2023, Helm dev meeting. Welcome. We have our great crew here, and Karina just posted a link to the notes doc. Thank you. We have so far one agenda item, and I'm gonna write another one. Okay, my other agenda, my other agenda item is, do we need a weekly meeting anymore? Because I've just noticed the last number of meetings, there haven't been many items, but maybe that point is not, we shouldn't have a weekly meeting, but maybe our meeting should really focus on the PRs themselves, and really go through them. But anyway, that's all I have right now. Joe.
I've never understood this. I see them get approved and then they sit there sometimes through the next release. What's the strategy? I'm just
okay. So I can jump in on this. If it is a pull request that is small or larger, it requires 2 maintainers to approve before it can be merged. If it is from the community, if it's from another maintainer, then it only requires 1 person to approve it. The issue always comes with getting the second approver, and the second approver should be the one to merge it if it comes from the community. And that's where it a lot of times sits on, is getting that second approver. Does that help? If you see one that has 2 approvals from 2 maintainers, then ping the second approver and say, why wasn't it merged? I ask them, because that's where a number of them do get hung up. And we do that so that you have 2 people who understand the code, who get a look at it from different angles, just to make sure that everything's good. The idea is always to have 2 maintainers look at it. That's why if a maintainer writes it, getting a second maintainer to review it's good, because then you've got 2 people who understand the architecture.
cool. Thanks.
Could this be somehow like encoded in a check? I know from the Paquito community, for example, they have some GitHub action that checks for required labels, right? It runs like in a few seconds after something changes. Maybe we could have something similar to this, kind of, so it's transparent for someone from the outside that maybe just sees that there's an approval and wonders why their PR isn't getting merged or in progress.
That's a good idea. And if somebody wants to try to contribute that, by all means. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I can have a look.
It's true. I think, Matt, you wrote the, oh, I'm sorry, Philip. Were you finished?
Yeah, I just need to write it
Matt,
down, otherwise I will forget it.
Got it, that's great. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Karina, I think you wrote the, you rewrote the label applier. Am I right about that?
No, somebody else had already written one. We just started using it.
Oh, okay. I somehow thought you had, okay, cool. The poll sizer is what I was thinking. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the original poll sizer was based on some stuff in Kubernetes, and we needed it. And so when we moved off Kubernetes, we went with something more lightweight than the whole Kubernetes infrastructure. And then somebody wrote a GitHub action that can do the same thing. And so we migrated to the GitHub action.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't an action, maybe it was an app. Right. Whatever it was automation.
Reaching back in the memory banks. Okay, and then the next, well, let's see. Joe, did that really address your issue fully, or do you think there's more?
I think that answered everything I was curious about.
Or discussion item, I meant. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, Matt, we've been on this behind the scenes. You want to take it away? Oh,
yeah, Go 120. So having trouble with Go 120. There was a recent pull request merged that tried to trick the Docker client. So the Docker client is this fun thing, has this fun capability where it looks for localhost and automatically enforces just HTTP connections on anything related to local host. It doesn't use HTTPS. And it doesn't matter what you try to set up, it just automatically bypasses it behind the scenes. Well, somebody had attempted to trick it by using the hex address for localhost instead of the term localhost or the IPv6 or 4 IP addresses. Try to use the hex version of the IPv4 address, and it worked until Go 120. And Go 120 behind the scenes made changes. So on an hex address, it tries to do a DNS lookup. And it turns out that on some systems, that DNS lookup fails because a lot of times you use the system resolver, and some system resolvers cause it to fail. Mac doesn't, but Linux does, particularly those that pass through the system D resolve D as a local cache. So most things that use system D then now start failing on Linux because of that pass through and how it happened. And so that's blocking our upgrade to 120. And it's not so easy to work around. You can't do a custom resolver because resolver for the DNS lookups is a struct implementation, not an interface. So you can't actually replace it. And the only thing configurable on there is a dialer. And I'm looking at using a wrapper dialer to intercept to see, but that is giving me some trouble there. I see, yeah, mock DNS. So with mock DNS, and I was looking at this, and if somebody has ideas here, please, I'm looking for a discussion here. The mock DNS resolver is great, but you can't set it as the default resolver, which is what ends up getting used in the background. So you have to replace the default resolver. And I don't think the mock DNS resolver lets you replace the default resolver. And that's where the problem becomes.
So where is this used? Is this for tests only, or
It's used in testing, so that way we
Okay.
can test using TLS connections and all kinds of things in CI. And so it
So-
falls over in our test environment.
one idea could be to use 127.0.0.2, which works usually as an alias. I don't know. That could be like
That's true. 127.0.0. Let me give that a couple of spins here. That may be an alternative. That's why I'm looking for obvious things, because 127.0.0.53 is actually the DNS lookup for that's used on systems with system D resolve D. So, all right, I will give that a try. But if anybody has any other ideas, things that would work in both CI and on the different environments, that would be appreciated.
yeah, it
Another,
could be that the 0.0.2 stuff is highly specific to the system. I know it works on my machine.
yeah, another idea might be just to give it another DNS name. Or does it actually look for the IP address that it's been resolved to? Like,
Well,
is it
that's-
just like checking in the, like the host header?
Yeah.
Would that potentially work around it?
Yeah, I was
That's
thinking
the
about
problem.
doing another DNS name for it, like set something up under helm.sh. That's some really funky name there that would resolve for CI testing. So if you're able to resolve DNS, it'll work.
That's
SXIP.
That's not a bad idea. I actually wasn't thinking that you meant that. I thought you meant in the host, like the Etsy hosts file, Ian.
No, because then you can't control everybody's system. You want the
Right,
test.
right, yeah.
Some random person, checks out the code and wants to run tests. You want them to be able to run all of those tests.
Yeah, you don't want yeah, you don't want Helm test to fail. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Those are two good ideas. I'll give them both a shot.
Give a link for the an issue or PR or something.
Sure. Just a second, I'll drop it in.
There's also a question, I think Sule isn't able to join right now, but is asking a question if we can test this pull request he just opened on Go 120. Or Matt, if you already looked into this and found this wasn't going to resolve it. But
Which what pull request? Oh, this one you just dropped in here?
yeah, I'll drop it in the doc too, but I did in the video chats 11938.
Here we go. Here we go. Maybe. Let's see.
It works locally on a Mac, but that doesn't necessarily mean. Basically, I had asked in a comment if we could wait until Monday to revert, just so that we can come up with a fix. But if it just so happens that we already come up with one before then, that would be great.
And that would work, yeah. Let me see why it failed in Circle CI. Because that seems odd.
That does, since we removed everything, right?
Well, the check is, oh, it can't confine the config YAML file. He's running into that situation, that's why.
Oh, maybe needs to merge pull upstream. Because we have that working in main, right? Then we have a muck. Let me just make sure.
Okay, so one of the things that's showing up for some folks is that Circle CI needs to be able to clone the repo in order to find its source and to find the config YAML file. Since Circle CI had its security incident and you've had to cycle certain credentials, such as the SSH keys for them to have access to clone code and how they do it, some people are running into issues where they can't clone the repository, where Circle CI can't clone the repository for them, so it can't get the config YAML file to read it to do anything. And I've seen this across multiple repos, and it happens randomly for folks. And I don't know what the pattern is that causes this. I ran into it when I did a shallow fork. So GitHub has the ability when you fork something to say, just fork the default branch or fork everything. And I ran into it when I just forked the default branch, but when I forked everything, I didn't on the one repo I had, but I don't know if that's a hit or miss or what's going on. But yeah, so let's see how build test works. This may actually be an option.
Okay, and I was wrong, by the way. His is up to date with main. He just
yeah,
it has that circle.
Yeah, and this all comes out of what happened with Circle CI in the bug. Some other repos have experienced this, such as Helm Map Cube APIs ran into the same kind of problem with a pull request.
Have you found rerunning the circle job?
No, it just never works.
No,
we tried. We had the same person close the pull request, try a new pull request, still had the same problem. I took the exact same commits, cherry picked them into a branch that I did and made a pull request, and they worked. And so it's this weird situation that has to do, it all started after Circle CI had their security incident, and they had to rotate every darn credential in the world. And this started happening sporadically for people.
I saw it too, and I wasn't able to test rerunning because I no longer have permission on Circle CI to do that for some reason.
You should.
I should. Yeah, I don't know why.
No, it's coupled to your GitHub permissions.
Yeah.
So your GitHub permissions on this repo should mean it's there. It's either you weren't logged in anymore, you got kicked out, or maybe you're not following it. You have to follow Helm.
Maybe I need to refollow it. Anyway, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, but you should have it's coupled to GitHub permissions with a repository,
right,
not elsewhere. So
it's definitely logged, but that's okay. Okay, cool. That's not really relevant anyway right now. It sounds like.
Yeah. And I will test this pull request too. So I've got 3 methods now to work on this that are simpler than the things that I had dug into. But then again, I went and figured out what happens inside of Go, and don't go there. They changed how Go handles resolving names. And it was in that change in 120 where they reworked things that caused the problem.
But that is going to fix a bunch of people that use Macs.
The Go change?
Because when you're set with a static Go DNS resolver on a Mac, where you can have hosts in different subfiles, those weren't resolving. So it'll be a good thing for many users.
Yeah. So the reworking just caused us this bug because they don't handle the hex IP addresses properly. They're trying to do DNS lookups on them. Okay.
One
That's all I
idea
had.
that
Yeah.
just came to my mind, could you just use like the first interface IP address instead of the local host address?
Yeah, you'd have to get that IP address because it'll be different everywhere.
Yes,
Octal doesn't work, by the way.
But-
Jeff.
but I just checked, quickly checked, maybe there are some dragons, but it seems to be possible with Go standard library to get the list of interfaces and then just grab the first one and get the first IP address of that interface, which isn't loop back. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, for what it's worth, I tried decimal and octal and they fail.
It was a joke.
They try them all as DNS lookups and fail on it.
Okay,
That's all I've got.
thanks, Matt. I just sent you something about what you were asking me to, just as a side note.
Okay.
Okay, I'm actually going to change my question that do you need a weekly meeting anymore. Maybe I'll just say weekly meeting topics have been thin.
May
And all I
I?
really wanted to suggest is that we do what I already said it before. It's like maybe we can work on the PRs. So.
I think if we can add more maintainers, that will help too.
I'd like to,
Yeah.
it's okay, I'd like to jump in really quick. So the meetings that you haven't been able to join, Scott, I know the agenda looks thin, but we've always ended up having good discussions. A lot of people don't maybe know they need to drop it into the agenda for a topic. So if we have people out in the community that would like a, PR looked at or an issue raised, if the meetings start being canceled, then we lose that. So
Absolutely.
that's my concern. But yeah, that's all. I mean, we all know, drop it in the agenda, but
I wonder if it would be helpful to publicize that a little bit more.
I mean, I could try to start doing it again. When I think about it, I try to drop it into the Helm developer chat that it's starting, or drop your agenda item. I mean, we can all do that, right? I think that's a great idea.
George and I try to suggest people bring their PRs here.
We had some trouble after KubeCon, was it Detroit? So we publicized and we're at the booth and saying, hey, show up for the developer meeting, bring your PRs, come join. And then maintainers weren't showing up. And so, it kind of hurt because people would join and say, okay, we have this PR we want looked at, but then nobody was here to discuss. So that's my concern too, after KubeCon Amsterdam, if we say the same at the Helm booth, and then after, we all have a lot going on, but after KubeCon, if we can keep joining the meetings and have active maintainers here of, core Helm maintainers, I think that will help get even more maintainers. But what does everybody else think? And, you know, Matt and Scott, it's hard because you both are some of the core maintainers that are here and we ask a lot of your time. So getting Joe approved will help, and, you know, maybe some others, like if Philip ever wants to be a maintainer, or, you know, Ian, Ben. Anyway, just throwing stuff out there. But
Looking forward to that, but I will be parental leave for 7 months starting next month. So
lucky you.
after that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've definitely been slacking in the fact that I haven't spent much time on it. So I apologize, and I do need to get back to at least adding some reviews, adding some comments on issues and stuff like that. So I'll step it up.
Thanks, Ben.
Do we need a maintainer assignment for meetings? Just to see.
Yes, we do, before we move on. Just real quick, Sule said he did do a shallow fork only of the default branch, if that gives us more, if that gives you more data.
That might be the thing, the common thing, doing shallow instead of full.
Okay, I'll ask if you can redo it without that. And yes,
Yeah,
thanks.
my idea being that would help with the question of, is there going to be a maintainer at this meeting? If it was signed up for ahead of time, maybe that would be better. And then Matt and Scott wouldn't be like feeling like they absolutely have to be here because they don't know if anybody else is going to.
I was thinking that then it's just another assignment. Can we say that? I don't know if that works, if you think it works.
Oh, you mean an assignment of like maintainers that, you know, they can show up?
We need at least a core maintainer to show up. A good idea, Joe. It's
Yeah.
only a good idea because, you know, I'm not a core maintainer.
That's a great idea. I think so. Anyway, let's put it down right now.
The signups for it would probably have to be async, because otherwise only the core maintainer that's here would be able to sign up for the next one.
All right, well, I'll put my name on that one, and I guess others can put their name on it if they want. I just added it. How does that look, Karina and Joe?
I think it looks good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I know I won't be here next week.
All right, I added it to the template too. Okay, cool. Okay, who wants to moderate next week?
Maybe we should give Joe practice moderating.
I can do it.
You want to?
I just only, you know, somebody will have to get the key and whatnot, but sure.
I can do notes again, even though Joe did have the notes today.
Yeah, I can help with the key.
I think it would be my turn. Because I didn't do it last week, even though I volunteered 2 weeks ago. Because of the time zone thing, I missed last week's meeting. So
We'll put you twice.
Issue triage and PR review.
I will continue triaging issues.
Thanks, Joe. I'm not signing up for this right now because I know that I'm spending. I'm currently interviewing for jobs, which means I don't have a normal work schedule, and so I plan to do this stuff, and then I have like 3 or 4 interviews back to back, and then I can't. So I just don't want to put my name down for this and not do it again this week.
I did that over the summer. It's not fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay, but yeah, things like this make it harder. So if there's anyone who's able to help with PR review, that would be cool. I will put TBD. And thank you all for coming. You're all amazing. We'll see you. I'll go ahead and start the template for next week so we can go ahead and tell people, yeah, put your agenda items on. I'll do that before I get off of it here today. See you all next time.
Thank you. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, bye.